All right, guys, you asked for it. Here's another story time. My second baby story. All right, so my then boyfriend, now husband Chance, and I and our son were all living, going back and forth between his mom's house and my parents' house. I had just graduated high school and he still had a year left to go. So I decided that I wanted to be a police officer. So I enrolled in Clarksville University in Springfield and he still had another year to go. I previously had a miscarriage in March of that year, 2014. And I got pregnant with the Nexplanon on my arm. So I decided, hey, I'm going to get the Mirena and see if that works. And it worked pretty well for a while. And then about summertime, the end of summer in August, I started feeling like real crampy and sick all the time. Well, one night we went to a party. I didn't drink any alcohol whatsoever. But I mentioned to Chance, hey, let's go home. I'm not feeling well. I honestly thought somebody put something in my drink. He had been drinking though, so I drove home. And on our way home, while I was driving, I actually passed out at the wheel. And he had to take the wheel and save us from dying. So he wasn't drunk, he only had a few beers. And we weren't that far away from home, so he drove us home. His mom's freaking out because she thought somebody roofied me or something. I was so sick. She greets us at the car when we get home, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm just gonna go lay down. I'm not feeling very well. So we walk back inside, and I'm literally halfway down his hallway, and I hit the floor so hard. I honestly don't remember what happened next. They told me that his mom just flung me over her shoulder and threw me in the truck, and they just took me to the emergency room. We were so convinced that somebody drugged me, but there was nothing in my system. I started telling them about how I'd been having terrible cramps the past couple months. So they ordered me an ultrasound, and they found out that the reason that I was having cramps was because I had such a huge cyst and it was pushing against my Mirena. And the cyst exploded, which caused me to pass out several times. When I fell to the ground in the hallway, yeah, that's when it ruptured. Fun times. So the doctor at the emergency room told me that the cyst was so big that it actually knocked my Mirena out of place. So they just went ahead and removed it. And they told me that I would need to follow up with my OB. They didn't give me any pregnancy test, nothing. So a week goes by, and my chi-chis were starting to hurt. And I was feeling a little nauseous. It was actually on my birthday, September 16th. Literally a week after this happens. And I was like, I'm going to take a pregnancy test just to see what's going on. And boom, what do you know? I'm pregnant. A couple days later, I go to the OB and you see it on the ultrasound. There's just a wee little nugget in there. So yes, I got pregnant with the IUD. Now at the time, Chance was a big football star. He was the quarterback, and he was all over the news all the time. So just close family and hardly any friends knew. And we were going to keep that a secret until the end of the season. Well, this is where it gets interesting. So like I told you guys, we were going back and forth between my parents' house and his mom's house. Well, his mom had this boyfriend that I just really didn't care for. He would smoke with the schmeed and his cigarettes in the house, and I did not like that. Obviously, I was pregnant. I had a young child in the house. It's not appropriate. Not good on those little lungs. He was really weird too. I have really good instincts about people, and I just knew right off the bat he wasn't a good person. And we'll get closer down to that story a little bit later on. So it drove a wedge in between me and Chance's mom, which ultimately drove a wedge between me and Chance. And we argued all the time. And it's almost like she was so fascinated with this guy, he was such a good manipulator that she didn't care how it was affecting everybody else in the house, which ultimately broke me and Chance up. I did not trust that guy. So I said our son Chasen could not go over there if that guy was there. He was bad. I just knew he was. I felt it in my gut. So I made a rule that Chasen was not allowed to go over there unless he was not in the house. Now, his mom had a 3-bedroom house, and there was already me, his mom, Chance, our son Chasen, and his sister Lexi all living in the house. And her new boyfriend had 3 kids. So a 3-bedroom house with 9 people. So me and Chasen just full-time lived with my parents for a while. And honestly, it was devastating. I was so sad that my family was broken up. I found out that Chance was doing some really terrible things. And he was talking to girls, which ultimately broke my heart. So I got super stressed out. I was not gaining weight like I should have been. And my body just couldn't handle it. I almost lost the baby at 15 weeks. But things were pretty hard for me and Chance for a while. We couldn't get on the same page. And he wouldn't follow the rules to see our son. And I know a lot of people are going to judge me, but I was doing what was best for our kid. And I was not keeping our son away from him. I just had rules, boundaries. So like I said, I was not keeping our son away from Chance. I just had them do supervised visits. And honestly, he would just sit at my grandma's house while I went and did grocery shopping or something like that. I kept telling him and his mom hey, if the boyfriend isn't over there, Chasen can go over there. But they got mad at me and said I was controlling, blah, blah, blah. So we continued with our supervised visits. Me and his mom used to be like this. And then we just completely stopped talking, which was devastating. I felt like I lost another mom. But unfortunately, at 25 weeks pregnant, I was already dilated and I was put on bed rest. I was in labor from 25 weeks to 35 weeks, but at 32 weeks, I was having heavy contractions. So Chance took me to the hospital, and they actually had to take me by ambulance to the main hospital because they were for sure I was going to have her at 32 weeks pregnant. They start giving me magnesium to stop my labor, and it was not working, and it was making me god-awful sick. This was happening on and off for a week. They could not stop my labor. So they were trying to stop my labor for a week. They finally got it to stop, but by that time I was already dilated to 6. They sent me home and they put me on bed rest. By the time that was all said and done, I was 33 weeks. 2 weeks later, I went for a checkup. I was still dilated to 6, and he told me it was really any moment kind of thing. So on the way home from the doctor's appointment, we stopped and got my son's haircut. Then we went and got food and we went home. I took Chance to his mom's house, and me and Chasen went back to my mom and dad's house. I told my mom that I needed to lay down because I was not feeling well. So she watched Chasen for a little bit so I could just shut my eyes. Well, as I was laying on my side, I coughed. And when I coughed, I thought I peed my pants. But I did not pee my pants. So I stood up and I yelled, "Mom!" And she's like, "What? What?" So she ran back to the bedroom and I said, "My water just broke." She's like, "No, it didn't." I said, "Yeah, it did." So she made me sit on the toilet for a while. I was on there for like 5 minutes and just water was just coming out. And she's like, "Do you think it broke?" I was like, "Yeah, probably." At this point, I was 35 weeks pregnant. So I called Chance and we go by his mom's house, pick him up, and we go to the hospital. Oh, and by the way, I probably should have mentioned Chance and I got back together when I was in labor at 32 weeks. We decided that we wanted to be a family again and we wanted to work things out. But anyway, back to my story. So we get to the hospital and my mom actually drove us there. And she went and parked the car while Chance and I were walking up to the hospital. I was wearing leggings and flip-flops. My mom had me sitting on 3 towels in the van and I soaked through all 3 of those towels and the whole seat was soaking wet and freaking amniotic fluid. So we were walking up to the hospital and you could hear the water in my leggings and my flip-flops going quick, 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 quick. And the security guy was like, "You think you're in labor?" I was like, "Yeah, bud." We get in there and I'm just like leaving a trail of water. I didn't even know it was possible to like hold that much water inside you. But they ran the test and I was in fact in labor. Who would have guessed? They gave me to the delivery room. And I honestly was not in any pain, but I was just like, let's get the epidural before I start feeling that shit. So they give it to me and everything's, smooth sailing. By the time they gave me my epidural and everybody got to the hospital, I was in labor for a total of 5 hours from the time that my water broke. And I was dilated to 10 and ready to push. I only pushed for a couple minutes, and she was born. 6 pounds, 3 ounces, and 20 inches long, was a beautiful baby girl. And we named her Mayla Ray Fry. I love this moment. Shortly after we had Mayla, his mom broke up with the boyfriend. Honestly, I don't blame her for that situation. He was a mass manipulator. He actually stole her identity, and it was like $20,000 to the IRS, which she's still trying to fight. This was 5 years ago. And I wish I could say that was the end of mine and Chance's troubles, but it was not. I wish I could say that was the end of mine and Chance's struggles, but unfortunately, it was not. We've been through many obstacles, but we've always gotten through them. And we're doing good now. We've been married for 5 years. We have a total of 4 children. But trust me, I have plenty of more story times. And by the way, me and his mom are really close again. She's like another mom to me. She got away from the douchebag boyfriend from before, and she's actually in a really good committed relationship now with an amazing man. But here's some pictures of Mayla Ray today. Oh my god. I know I said I was going to do the ones of today, but let's just show her glow up. She is the queen of mean mugging, by the way. I'm sorry, I might be biased, but ain't my baby girl just so beautiful? But stay tuned for more story times. Trust me, there's plenty more coming.